Hey guys, what's going on? This is Danny with Deborah Revival Design, and welcome to the how-to video series that's going to be focusing on milling. So there's information out there that's related to milling, and I mean you can see pretty much almost every process online, but one of the details that we're missing is actually having a video series that covers in detail milling from the beginning to the end of the process. Actually, there is a lot of steps to milling, and the actual milling of the log itself is not that complex of a step as compared to all the preparation and knowledge that you should have prior to arriving to the mill site, and all the things you got to do during the milling and post milling in order to have success when you're milling with any kind of Alaskan mill. We particularly use Granberg International. I'll give you a little bit of background on myself. So I've actually been playing with chainsaws for approximately 8 to 9 years. I have a Forest Service background. I was on a hand crew at some point, and I was a sawyer for a part of my career. And I really took a liking to chainsaws. Worked for several tree services and just really nerded out per se on wanting to learn the most I could about the machine that I really loved. So I'm going to try to impart some of that knowledge to you, but I want you to know that there are people that know way more than I do, and so all opinions are welcome. Everything's welcome. I'm not telling you that this is the only way to do it. There are certainly other ways to doing anything. I'm just telling you this is what's worked out for us, and I want to share it with you, and hopefully it helps you. We're going to start from the beginning to the end, and today we're going to go ahead and cover setup. So let's start off at the basics. I'm not going to skip any step because I think one of the downfalls is thinking that it's obvious information, that somebody might already know it, that it's unnecessary. But the fact is, to some people that are starting off, there's no information that's trivial. So let's start you at that. When we go out to the field, initially, the most important thing is to be properly prepared. So let's start by, there's going to be several steps to this. One is PPE, or personal protective equipment. Having been a firefighter, I recognize the importance and critical PPE in order to do whatever it is that your mission is. So PPE is very important. So let's start off by some of the stuff that we bring out to the field. So kind of obvious but important, some ear protection. You should not be out there running a chainsaw consistently without ear protection. Believe me, I actually have a hearing loss, and it's been verified medically, and a lot of it is not being able to work with some sort of ear protection through the years because I wanted to be able to hear. In case a situation turned bad, I wanted to be able to hear and get out of it. So ear protection. So not only do we carry 2 pair, because generally milling is a 2-person process, so carry some for yourself and one for somebody else. I also carry disposable earplugs because I feel that they're very important. Here's that. I would say carry a bag with 10, 15 of these. They'll be invaluable because sometimes people show up to the site, sometimes the homeowner might be there, sometimes you might have somebody else, and there's nothing worse than having to be around chainsaws the entire time without ear protection. All right. Helmet, so head protection. There are various types. I like to use a full brim helmet like this one right here, but you can also get integrated helmet with ear protection and a face shield. I don't use this one that often, but if we're cutting a lot of brush or anything like that, you might want to put this on. So next is going to be eye protection. So aside from standard sunglasses that I might be wearing through the day, this is another different type of eye protection. And so these, I commonly came to know them as Bugs, but that is a brand, and so these are not it. It's actually designed for chainsaw operations or anything where you might be getting debris into your eye. They're actually wire mesh. The lenses are wire mesh to protect against chips and stuff like that. It doesn't do anything for fine dust, but that's not the kind of stuff we're talking about anyways. And then, of course, it's got an elastic strap that you can tighten, and it actually makes a full seal around your eye. So I don't always wear these. In fact, I only wear them if the conditions are windy or some other factor indicates that I'm getting something in my eye, I need to protect myself more, but it's good to carry a pair of these around. I generally like to wear long sleeve, and a lot of people ask me, why would you wear long sleeve? Aren't you overheat it. And the reality is that taking the sun all day is more of a beat up to me than taking a long sleeve. So I'm either wearing one of our t-shirts from Deadwood here, long sleeve, or if it's brushing or doing something that's going to destroy my shirt, I'll use a more coarse shirt like this Bailey's Authentic Logger Wear. So most of the times, unless I'm falling a tree, I don't really wear a helmet because there's no overhead danger, but I will wear a hat. Hats are important. Don't underestimate it. You don't want the sun beating your face all day. Chaps. I personally wear chaps religiously when I'm running the chainsaw. I have two pairs of chaps that we take into the field, one for me and one for my other partner. One of my partners is actually also an ex-Forest Service employee, and we wear these things all the time. And I'm very surprised every time I work for a tree service with somebody that just simply they do not wear chaps, because it's not a matter of skill, because I consider myself fairly skilled. It's a matter of at some point you might slip, you might trip, you might misstep with a chainsaw in your hand in operation, and all it takes is one hit of the leg for you to have one of the worst days you're ever going to have. So I think chaps are important. Plus they protect your clothing in general, you know. All right, gloves. So gloves are pretty critical. Sometimes I don't use them while I'm actually milling, but in order to move the stuff around, move brush around, cut branches, all this kind of stuff, it's good to have a good pair of gloves. So you get stuff like this, or I prefer all leather gloves. Boots. Boots are important. Again, I see a lot of people milling sometimes with tennis shoes, and that is okay if that's the way you want to go, but let me tell you that there's nothing better than to be protected. So I like to wear, I have White's boots from my firefighting career. So they're all leather, they're logger boots, so they give you good support as far as if you're on uneven terrain, and there's nothing worse than wearing some tennis shoes and then tripping on uneven terrain and hurting your ankle or something like that. So I think it is worth it having boots out in the field, but again, your choice. And probably one of the most important things is sunblock. How many times have I been out there milling and I got there, I didn't bring sunblock. The sun is simply beating you down all day. So carry some spray on or regular sunscreen in your bags. So you'll see that all the stuff that we have, we put into specific bags that we always take when we mill. Here's another thing. Because we make our living by making furniture, and the first step in us making our furniture is milling our wood, I have some extra things that I feel like are pretty important because I'm milling quite often. You might or might not need these things, but I gotta tell you, they come in handy. Another one is a tent. So this is a pop-up tent. It is a 10 by 20, and it's simply wonderful. There's nothing better than to be able to get to the site, pop up this tent over the log that you're gonna be working under, and protecting yourself from the sun all day. Fatigue is actually going to decrease your productivity. So getting hit by the sun all day, you're more likely to quit quicker. You're more likely to just be beat down the next day, dehydrated. So I think a tent comes in handy. You know, you can go probably to Harbor Freight, pick one up for under $100. And I'm telling you right now, the production that you're going to have afterwards, it'll be worth it. Finally, do not leave without bringing some form of a cooler. It doesn't matter what kind of cooler, but I do recommend that you bring plenty of beverages out to the field, that you stop, get some ice, get yourself some snacks. Sometimes I thought, this is not necessary, I'm just going out there, I have a bottle of water, but you will be surprised for you and whoever you're working with how discouraging it gets once you start getting hot, sunburn, you're thirsty, you're hungry, and every time that you have to stop to go run somewhere to do something, production's down, and we're all about keeping high production. So, all right, and so moving on into the rail systems that we utilize to make the top cut and other hand tools that we carry with us. So Granberg International makes these awesome rail systems that are used to make the top cut. Prior, we've done everything from 2x4s to ladders. I mean, it's very common if you look on the internet that you'll see people use a variety of methods, but these things have worked a lot better for us. They're made for this. They're lightweight. They have these little spikes or dogs that would go into the log and then these all threads would work as leveling screws. They have the ability to connect with each other and extend. And so once we actually started using those, we never went to anything else. So with that, and with a couple other things that are going on, I believe that it's very important to bring a drill set. And then I would also bring some extensions. We'll talk more about what the benefit of the extensions are, but I'd get a drill set with some sockets and have the ability to kind of move faster through some of the processes. All right, so this is a splitting maul, but we utilize it as a falling axe. So this is in case you're bucking a log and something gets stuck, or you're going to fall a tree. It's always good to carry one of these. A high lift. This thing is pretty invaluable. It's actually made for off-roading, for Jeeps and such things. And it cranks, and every time it cranks, it goes up one level. You can flip logs that are massive with this essentially almost by yourself. There's a little bit of technique to it, but this thing for $70 or $80 that it was, oh man, you wouldn't believe how easy. We always get a scraping tool, so I have a hand tool that is using the fire service. It's good for sometimes logs have been sitting in areas for a long time, and you would like to scrape around them and kind of get all the debris and all the dirt that is around away. Right, so continuing with some of the tools that we bring in our tool bag. So first off, we got ourselves a tool bag that can fit all the tools that we have in one place comfortably. And aside from that, we got additional tool bags to kind of segment things within. So the first tool bag actually has tools in it. We carry a series of scrunches, or at least that's how I know it. One with the star. Wire brush to clean any parts that might need cleaning in the field. One of these guys with the appropriate size to utilize on the Granberg attachments. Needle nose pliers. They come in handy when you're doing certain things. This little guy right here actually loosens the handle on the newer Alaskan Mill models where they changed it, and there's some two little star screws on each part of the tube they go through. I'll show later, but that's kind of what this thing is for. We got some 7/32 files, crescent wrench, and I think probably the most important thing here, or one of the most important things, is a Raker gauge. Not only does it work to check the proper height of the top plate right here, the raker, it also helps to clean the bar. So it has that part of the attachment right there. And if you have a dirty bar like such, you just put it in there and work down, and you can see all the stuff that it gets out of there. Once this gums up your bar, you're not going to be cutting too effectively. So clean the bar prior to going out into the field is one of the things that you want to do. Not only do you want to clean the groove itself, the oiler holes are generally, at least in a still bar, right here, really small. You want to go in there and blow that out, clean it, make sure it's free of debris so oil can pump into the bar. And then you want to make sure that you don't have any burrs. As you utilize it, you get raised spots on the corners, burrs. For that, you'd use a bastard file and go like that and take the burrs off of the bar. It's also really important to flip your bar between uses. So if you run it with the emblem going a certain way one time, then the next time just pay attention and go the other way. Also, all the sap and stuff, I clean it before I go back out into the field. Additionally, the second bag, put all this stuff in the first one. Our second bag is just going to have additional tools. So the second bag actually contains spare parts. So in here we have spare parts for the mill. Just the chain tensioners, for some reason, have given me trouble through time. I think that when you mill a lot, there's a lot of heat applied to those parts, and that they don't do well under such extreme heat. So so I keep tensioners, I keep extras for all of the Granberg stuff, and extras clutch drums. We have different kinds of clutch drums. If you run the double-ended bar, you need a spur sprocket for that. And then carry one of these little organizers with some extra stuff, like always got bar nuts for our 880 and for our 460. These are the oiler screws that go through the bar. Got some links for chain since we make our own. Some extra sprockets, E-clips, and other little things that I feel like we would need for the chainsaw. So, not that you have to have everything that we have here. I just want to show you how we operate, because the least that I want is to be somewhere planned out for the day in the field and something happens to the chainsaw, as oftentimes do, and I'm not prepared to deal with it. It would just throw the full day off. You should know enough about your chainsaw that if something happens in the field, you can diagnose it and do a quick repair. Okay, so continuing with the bag, also carry one of these full of extra all threads that I cut for the rail system. I just went ahead and just bought a longer stick of all thread, cut them, and then with the bandsaw cut a little slice in them. That way you can screw them. But these are handy to have. And then any additional parts that I take off, as an example of the 880, when I'm milling, I don't have the dogs on there, so I can get further reach of the bar, those extra couple inches. But I carry those with me just in case I have to do some work. And then I carry this type of sharpening jig, which is an Oregon one, just in case we have to do some touch-up. And then, of course, we have a Granberg one. And all of those things with additional chain that we will tape up like this once it's sharp. Additional sharp chain for the entire project would go into this bag. And everything is fully organized and easy to carry. One last thing, a tape. So we carry this kind of tape right here, tape measure, in order to go around trees and check the diameter. So we find that this one works really good for us. And of course you saw me using that bastard file or flat file earlier to take burrs off of the bar. You should also carry one here, because if you have to do the Raker gauges, that's what you would do it with. All right. And then the last thing that we have are, of course, your chainsaws and your mills. We generally have 3 different kinds of chainsaws with us. One's this little mini Stihl MS-193T. It's kind of good for limbing, smaller things. We carry an MS-460. And then we also carry a couple of 880s, MS-880s. As far as the mills, I'm assuming that you've already put the mill together, and so next time we get to the field, I'll show you some stuff relating to the mill. But this is kind of everything that encompasses the setup. I hope I was able to share something that'll be of value to you.